we're going to have a look at changing behaviors through experiences. So, we're going to talk about three things. How many days does it take to create a new habit? For instance, drinking a glass of water before lunch. What can Super Mario teach us about learning through experiences? And why is it that Grand Theft Auto is one of the most popular games? First out, how many days do you think it takes to create a habit? Please, just discuss with your neighbor, or maybe neighbors if you're a few. Doing something new, how many days does it take? And wrap it up. And do we have any bids? How many days do you think it takes to create a new habit? What do you say? 3 days. All right. More bids. What do you say? Immediately. With the right conditions, which are? Termination. What? Determination. Okay. Not like you now have the habit of death. Great. So 2 days, 3 days. Yes. Interesting. So if you like the thing you're doing, you will keep on doing it and it becomes a habit. What do you say? About 60 days. Very interesting. Because if you Google this fact, internet will tell you 21 days. This is not the right answer, though. So don't get all cheerful about it. Because there's a lot of books. How to stop smoking in 21 days, how to get rich in 21 days, and how to achieve anything in 21 days. So research team led by Philippa Lalli in Great Britain took this question to the lab. And what she found out was that it took actually somewhere between 14 days and 256 days. With an average of 66 days. Yes. So, for me as a psychologist, trying to change behavior and proactively trying to change behavior before something bad happens. You know, a lot of psychologists, you go to see them when something bad has happened. I want to be there earlier, helping people when the shit hasn't hit the fan. So the problem is, you don't change behaviors through lectures. You change behaviors through experiences, through your own experiences, because that is where you have your 14 days, your 66 days, your 256 days. That is where you will learn. To make things happen in a greater sense, instead of just having a talk on 20 minutes, if you want to learn more about the things that I'm teaching you, there's a free email course giving you 30 days of this kind of behavioral psychology. So this is one way for me to create this. And I am Oskar Henrikson, by the way. I'm a psychologist, but no one ever remembers that my name is Oskar Henrikson, so I have taken an artist name, Psychologen Oskar. Oskar the psychologist. Much simpler. When I was little, I played a game called Super Mario. It was fantastic. It was like jumping up and down. You could throw fireballs and jumping at little brown things with sharp teeth. It was much later, when I studied to become a psychologist, that I actually understood what was so great about this game. And it's now time for some Nintendo psychology. To teach you this, I need a volunteer. Someone who can expose themselves for a not too painful psychological experiment. Wonderful. It's like, give her a hand. Yes, please. Very brave doing this straight away. Hello, my name is Oskar.
My name is Nene.
Nene, thank you. The quest for you is quite simple. You will just step out of the room.
Out of the room.
Yes. When you come back, you will do something somewhere in the room. You won't know what it is, but you can just walk around and see if you find it. So explore the room and see if you find it. That's all the instructions you will get at this point. Do you understand those instructions?
I will walk out the room, I will come back, I will search for something that I don't know, and I will probably find it.
Perfect. Perfect.
Would it be helpful if she had the catch box when she came back to talking to?
No. Nene. Great. Okay. So what we will do is a variant of the game Hot Cold, if you played it. So we're going to decide on something that Nene will do somewhere in the room, and the closer she gets, the more we will give her applause. The further away, the less applause we will give her. And the task for us is to do this really, really gradually, so that we don't have a 0-100 relationship. We need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the even tiniest glimpse in the right direction will give a little bit more applause. And a glimpse in the wrong direction, a little bit less. And when she comes in, then we can just give her something to start with. And when she really finds it, then we can just go bananas. Okay? So what do we want her to do? Great. Super. So any steps in the right direction, more applause. Any steps in the wrong direction, less applause. This works in about 80% of the time. I hold my thumbs. Please, let her in. Great work. Yes. This experiment actually works 82% of the cases. Thank you, Nene. How did it feel? It was interesting, yeah. How did it feel for you guys? Did well. What was it that was actually happening? Encouragement, right. So this is one of the oldest psychological facts that we know of, is that any behavior that we want to change in ourselves or if we want to help others, it could be doing tango at a LARP, it could be reading with a dog, it could be anything that we want people to do. That behavior, we could call it B, is more affected by the behavior's consequences, the things that come after the behavior, all the things that we can call C, more than it is affected by the stuff that comes before the behavior, the things that we could call A, exactly, in the incredibly pedagogical model called the ABC model. Does any one of you ever got stuck into nagging to a person, trying to convince them to change their behavior or do something different? That's when you're stuck in the A. Have you ever done something that you really liked, like the example we had here, and you felt that it was so nice that you just wanted to do it again? That's when you're encouraged by a C. So, for instance, a an A, you get the invitation to the Alibis for Interaction conference. You show up and then you experience a great conference that will increase the likelihood that you will come back or that you will actually do these things more in the future. So this research is really old, and we know that rats can be taught to play another brick in the wall just given candy. Now, human beings are, of course, more advanced than this, but if we look at Teresa Amabil's research, where she analyzed 12,000 diary notes, she saw that people like these small progresses. It actually affects human beings as well. It isn't just the rats. And this is the scientific foundation of why you don't learn during a lecture. You learn from your experiences. That is where the consequences are. So your participants, they won't learn from what you say, from instructions you're sending out. They will learn from what they experience. Why do I call this Nintendo psychology? Have any one of you played Super Mario to 8-bit? A few of you? How many instructions were there? None. And still, it is one of the best games ever. Strange, huh? No, the Japanese know their psychology. Of course, all consequences are not created equal. Some researchers have found 3 consequences that are the best consequences for human beings. The game Grand Theft Auto tells us which they are. Can anyone guess what is the specific thing about the game Grand Theft Auto? Why do people play this game? Do we have any guesses? What do you say? Exactly. You're free to do whatever you want. Some people could say that, oh, it's the violence. But actually, a research team studied violence in video games. It was Andrew Prespilewski and Scott Rigby, and then they saw that when freedom and competence is accounted for, then the added effect of violence is 0. So you don't actually need violence in video games. It's the freedom that makes the game work. Because players want to learn from their experiences. They want to be free to explore what consequences are positive for me. And that is one of the 3 things that these researchers have found. And I'm thinking, just to make it a little bit more exciting, the others 2, you can look them up yourselves. The researchers also worked with the Batman game, one of the most popular modern games, and the next Batman game is coming out tomorrow. And since these psychologists worked on creating this game, I will predict that it will be a great success, because they have a methodology where they are checking that all these positive consequences are prevalent in the game, where freedom or autonomy is one of the most important factors. So I strongly suggest that if you are designing experiments, you take these 3 positive consequences in consideration. So, you learn from your experiences, built up by many positive consequences that you have the freedom to seek. Thank you.
No. Dude, that's fantastic. You can't not tell us the other 2 consequences. I feel completely... Oskar, is delayed gratification one of the consequences?
Delayed gratification is important, and it's important to train delayed gratification.
Really? I mean, are you really not going to tell us? I have no information. I know as much as you do.
I think that you will learn more if you look it up yourselves.
Is anyone online? Like, what should we Google? I can't handle this. Okay, we do have time for some questions. Would you like some questions?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, let's have the catch box out again.
Does it work?
Yes. Can you just state briefly like which hat you're wearing?
I'm Jaakko Stenros from the University of Tampere, Finland, and I was wondering about, you said that freedom is the key to games. How do you account for rules then?
I would say that rules create more freedom, actually, because uncertainty makes you not do as much, because you're bound by habit, and you do roughly the same things over and over. And as Johanna very nicely showed us, an alibi or a rule can actually open up for freedom. We can do a lot more when we get rules that allow us to do things that we otherwise wouldn't dare to do or aren't allowed to do. It's like you get the rule that you could tackle another person. It opens up freedom. It doesn't narrow your freedom.
Isn't this a very Orwellian way of thinking of freedom? Freedom is rules. Rules are freedom.
Okay, wait. So you're saying that? Are you suggesting that it would be Orwellian because? Yeah. So okay. So then I guess let's reframe that question in a more boring way, but more informative way. Is there a point where where rules start limiting freedom? So there's some kind of optimum. The gut feeling says there would be some kind of optimum, right?
Of course, there are nuances, but maybe we should need like a case to discuss to make it more applied, because otherwise, like, are rules good? Are freedom good? It's a bit broad, right?
Yeah, I can't think of one immediately. If anyone has one, raise your hand, or another question, or you can just use Grand Theft Auto because I'm still trying to get the other two out of you.
I have a. Well, I don't know if it's a question. My name's Frank, by the way. I'm the impro guy. But in football, they have a referee to keep the game moving. Is that what you mean by the rules are opening up the freedom to do better?
And I mean,
Otherwise,
a rule could
up,
open up for freedom, but you could also say that, because rules actually manifest themselves due to consequences that we're building up. So, for instance, if we're having this conference and you talk to a stranger and you get the consequence that the stranger is saying, "Oh, how nice it is that you're talking to me," then we're building up the rule that it's okay to talk to strangers. I mean, this happens all the time, and you can do it more formally in football, like saying that these are the rules, or you could let them just evolve by themselves. But there will be rules in one or another way.
Sure, I mean, yeah, like if somebody picks up the ball and runs to the other end and throws it in and keeps it, then you have to have a rule you can't do that, right? Otherwise, the other players don't get to experience the freedom.
But part of that is also, I think, because we're coming into something really interesting there. Is the referee is clearly a personification of the rules, or at least of the consequences. But of course, everybody in the game upholds the rules together. I'm just thinking aloud here, but like, maybe isn't it? It's also that the referee only comes into play where there is a gray area, when not everybody is in agreement of what the rules are, and then the other time that you use the referee, who's the sort of hard limit of the game world in American football or any kind of sport, would be when the physical logic of the game is broken. If you run off the stadium with the ball, that's going to create some problems. So that's where the consequences come into action again. Are we approaching anything of the other two positive consequences here, by the way, by this conversation?
I think I have a guess on one. It's discovery, is that part of it?
Isn't discovery a part of autonomy or freedom?
Ah, yeah, of course.
Let's have some more guesses. Does anybody else know who they are, or questions? Peter?
I have no guesses, but I will...
Just your name, please. Sorry.
Peter from Canada. I will verify that optimum idea. We had an experiment or a set of experiences. We had groups of children come to play Minecraft together. We did it over 3 days. We had 3 groups of 40 children, a different group every day. On the first day, I was essentially playing the role of God, because on the teacher version of Minecraft, you have checkboxes in which you can allow people to blow things up or set fires, or not blow things up and set fires. On the first day, chaos reigned, and everyone was sad because we had all the checkboxes turned off, so you could do anything you want, and you can burn things down and blow things up, and it was really, if you looked at the Minecraft world, it was chaotic and destructive. The second day we adjusted further, the third day we adjusted further, and we found the optimum rule, set of rules where there was enough allowance, enough autonomy. You could still kill people and blow things up, but not so much. And so I think people had freedom to exist, but not too much freedom so that sort of the forces of anarchy could take over completely.
Oh, that's really interesting. So was one of the mechanisms that happened that the group also that they started to create that the group started to create a culture of what level of anarchy is appropriate? So they policed each other as well.
Yes, yes.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Over here, and then over there. Yep.
There is a saying, or actually it's a book about complexity called Order at the Edge of Chaos. And I mean, learning through experiencing what's happening just at the edge and learning what complex interactions can evolve. And of course, positive feedback makes you survive and you create something. Negative feedback, which is a rule, you'll die. So that's how I understand it.
Order at the edge of chaos. I like that. Over there. Yep.
Carl Heath at the Interactive Institute. I did a small experiment in August with a bunch of 8 to 12-year-olds where we made them design computer software all by themselves in a group together for 4 days in what we called Hackerklubben. And in this concept, we basically set up the rule that learn, explore yourselves. We're here, but ask a friend first. We introduced one rule, and I would want to know what your thoughts are on that area on when it comes to failure. So we designed a rule that was basically where we told everybody, so we want everybody to fail exceptionally much and very fast, and do that very often. And when we fail, that's a really good thing, and you need to tell everybody else that you failed. And that's a sort of smashing hit. And something grew on that when we sort of iteratively designed on failure as a positive design mode for that group that I haven't seen in workshops of the kind before when we didn't design specifically for failure. So what are your thoughts on sort of reframing a rule or reframing a concept such as failure, which is a sort of very common rules-based concept? What are your thoughts on that?
Wonderful example and a really nice thing to letting these kids actually fail. It doesn't have to be failure per se, but from this model, the important thing is that you encourage the behavior. And the behavior is trying the thing, and it's distinctly separated from the result of the behavior that you are doing. The researcher Carol Dweck, you probably know about this study, but I can tell you otherwise. She let 2 groups of children solve an IQ test. She told the one group, "Oh, great that you solved this IQ test. You must be really smart." The other group, she told, "Oh, it's great that you solved this IQ test. You must have worked really hard." Then the 2 groups got to choose a new assignment, an easier or a more difficult one. Which group do you think chose what task?
Should we vote? Let's vote. Let's see, how do we do this? Who thinks that the you must be a really smart group chose the easier task? And who thinks that the you must be a really smart group chose the harder task?
Isn't that the
That's
same?
fewer. Yeah, but about 50-50. Okay. I don't know.
I think that you...
Did I do it wrong?
Yeah, but...
I did it wrong. Damn it.
Damn it! But it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay to fail.
I must be really smart. What was the effect?
I really appreciated that you tried to engage the audience in something that was more interactive, like doing a poll
Yeah,
like
I
this.
also genuinely want to know what people think. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, actually, it's not an end in itself. Yeah, okay. So,
Exactly.
but I think the vote shows that people are just as spread out in this issue as I am. So what's the correct answer?
Yeah, the correct answer is that if you're wrong at this answer, it's not because you're stupid, it's because you have read too little psychology.
Okay.
Because what we found out is that the people who get told they're smart chose the easier task. And if you're told that you've worked hard, you choose the harder task.
Why?
Why? Well, the theory goes that if smart equals solving a task, then what is failing at a task equals to?
Stupid.
Stupid, exactly.
It's the reading dog again.
It's the reading
Yes.
dog all over again. So when we teach people or kids that the things that you are doing is what's important, it's not the results of what you're doing. So if you want to fail or succeed, whatever that is, it doesn't matter as long as you keep doing the thing. And when we're doing the thing, the behavior, eventually we get good at it. We form habits or we explore more and so on.
But in that case, I have to ask, because when we're talking about failure and success, it's very much, we're talking about an individual experience, and maybe that's also a psychologist's bias, perhaps. But I think when we talk about alibis for interaction, to enable certain behaviors, it's in the context of avoiding shame and embarrassment quite often, which are more our social dynamics more. I don't know, can you reflect on is that the exact same thing, or are they slightly different things?
It's the same thing, because if we create an alibi or a magic circle where we let people fail or where we encourage the behavior and not the result, instead of, if I were to, oh, Johanna, you did that poll wrong.
I still would have laughed.
Yeah, exactly. Then maybe you wouldn't dare to do another poll. But if we're all like, oh, poll, this was fun, do a poll. If we can create that magic circle, then that kind of consequences will drive that kind of exploring behaviors. That
And actually, I'm realizing as you're saying this, that the only reason it would have been okay for you to say that to me is that I'm holding the schedule and the clock and I can throw him off the stage anytime. So actually, it wouldn't have been okay to say that to anybody else in the room. Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's very interesting. Any other reflections before we move on? Shoot.
I'm Albin. It was interesting the way you left out the two other answers, and I have a question to the audience. How many of you have already looked up the next two?
They tried over here.
more?
Did you see what you were supposed to Google? You missed that part?
Yeah, can't you tell us what we're supposed to Google? Have you found out?
Well, my brother checked it, I think.
No, I tried, but I couldn't remember what to Google. So
Yeah.
It was too subtle. It was down in the corner.
No,
yeah.
too subtle in this slide, yeah?
Could be failure. You can, for instance, Google self-determination theory.
Self-determination theory.
Then you will find it.
We're gonna, somebody has to find out, and then we're gonna have to establish it in the room, or I'm gonna go crazy and I won't be able to work for the rest of the day. But my phone is in the back. I mean, I guess one easy answer, just looking at GTA and especially the media coverage, would be to say, oh, but the other two great consequences are sex and money. He said.
There's a wonderful creator of an American cosmetic field. I think she's called Mary Kay Ash, very successful. And she has this wonderful quote that there is something, there are two things, or the one thing that is more powerful than sex and money.
Is it one of the answers?
Look it up.
Oh! Okay, now I'm throwing you off the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Oskar Henrikson.